What's going on, people? Welcome back to Premier League Unpacked episode 20, people. And we're going to do something different for you. It's been a little while since we've done a transfer update show. So we're going to bring one to you, give you all the exciting news that's knocking around right about now. We're here with my guy, Tom. What you telling me, Bish? You good?
I'm good. I just literally just before we came live, I was just watching the Champions League draw. So I was just eyeing up City's group,
Yeah.
um, having a little look at how that looks. But other than that, I'm good. I'm looking forward to another week of football this weekend. Looking forward to see what the transfer window brings in the next week before it closes next Wednesday. So I'm good.
Well,
How about
that's
you,
it
bro?
now. It's a home run. I'm all right, bro. I'd be honest, been a little bit busy this morning,
Yeah.
but just getting stuff prepared for the show and whatnot. And to be honest with you, bro, there's a lot to speak about. There's one
Mm-hmm.
topic that I'm going to be touching on very shortly first, and obviously that's Aubameyang because he's a
Yeah.
player that's very close to
Your
myself and
heart.
close
Yeah.
to the club. So we will touch on that in a moment. But just before we do so as well, I just want to say, people as well that are watching this, if you haven't seen the Arsenal versus Fulham preview with Joel that I did earlier in the week,
Oh, I was about to say
make sure
exceptional
you use
video.
Mango, check it out because it
That
was a
was such a
top
good
preview.
watch. It
Yeah,
really was
it
such a
was a
good watch.
my
Yeah.
G. I appreciate it, my bro.
You've
But
been busy, man. You've been at it.
you know
Hungry.
what,
I
bro? You
love it.
gotta you gotta put the work in it. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, no matter what it is in life, yeah, you gotta put the work in to succeed in it. Do you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And there's one little thing that I seen in on Instagram, a little saying that if you don't do more than what you're willing to be paid, then you'll never get paid for be able to basically
Yeah.
doing less in
Yeah.
other senses. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're just going to touch on Aubameyang straight away. I just want to dive straight into it, Bish, because it's a massive talking point at the moment. There's reports saying that he's been spotted at the
Hmm.
airport inside Spain, ready to fly over to complete his move to Chelsea. There's
Yeah.
also been reports reflecting around saying that Barcelona are hanging fire with the deal and they're still trying to see if they're going to offload Frankie de Jong first. Have you seen much about the Aubameyang situation right about now?
Yeah, I've been kind of trying to stay away from too much news coming out of Barcelona at the moment because there's so much a mess and moving parts over there with registering players and these economic levers and then players that they may sell or may not sell. The whole Frankie de Jong wages situation that I kind of felt like I just wanted to stop following or reading about anything related to Barcelona because there's too much ifs and buts. Like usually a transfer, it's like, oh, City are interested in so and so, and you can just take it for what it is. Whereas with Barcelona, it's like, yeah, the deal could be really close. Aubameyang could be flipping at Chelsea's training ground, and it could still not go through because of
Mm.
something else that's happening with another player or another. So I've not been diving too deep into it, but the talk's been going on for over a week now, and nobody in either camp or Aubameyang has quashed it, which kind of lets you know that it's definitely tangible.
Mm.
And I don't. It looks like maybe the Frankie De Jong United move, I think, is probably going to fall through. I don't see that getting done now. I think Casemiro going over there was then preparing for not getting De Jong. And I think if De Jong doesn't go, then I think maybe Barcelona think, well, we could offload Aubameyang, probably get
Mm.
some decent money in for him, I'm guessing. Do you know what they're talking about? What figure they're kind of talking about? Or
I think roughly around 21 million with everything
it's
included.
a bargain, that, isn't it, really?
But to be fair, Barca have got themselves really quite a good deal if that goes through. They managed to get him on a free more or less from us.
Yeah,
They've only paid him like 6 months worth of wages,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then if they can offload him, because I believe Xavi actually wants to keep him, and
Right.
wants to integrate him into the team. As we seen yesterday, played against City, scored a goal, so he's still got the knack for finishing. But they just can't afford it financially right about now, having all these players in the squad. And I feel like with them struggling to offload Frankie, that's the only reason why an Aubameyang's going, because you've got to think they brought in a Lewandowski as well
Yeah.
this summer. So it's going to be competition for not just places, but who's going to be getting the wages by the looks of it, bro. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And probably like you say, if you're Arsenal, maybe you look at Aubameyang and I mean Arsenal. If you maybe you're Barca and you look at Aubameyang getting him from Arsenal on the free, and maybe there is something about like you said the flip. Like if they'd paid for Aubameyang and they were gonna come up on a bit of extra money on him, but when you got someone for free and you could wash your hands with them, be done with their wages in 6 months and make a £20 million flip, that's got to be attractive to anyone in any walk of life. Do you know what I mean? So, and then like you say, they've got Lewandowski. If they had to pick one to keep, you know who they're going to be keeping. And at that point, maybe they just say, look, we can get by with Lewandowski. They must know that they're in a rebuild. I'd very much doubt that they're expecting to win the Champions League or anything like that this year. Obviously, I know there's always that pressure at Barca to do something, but it seems like it's probably one of them, and it's kind of a good deal for everyone involved, except for maybe Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? For Barca, it's a good look. For Chelsea, it's a bargain. If you're Arsenal, I'm a bit pissed really, because they wouldn't have sold him to Chelsea. So for him to arrive there 6 months later, you feel a little bit.
Do you know what as well, Bish? Where my standpoint on it is, Aubameyang is a player that he's not a legend at Arsenal Football Club, but if he would have stayed and continued scoring, he would have probably had that kind of status. Yeah. Obviously, maybe he didn't win the big stuff, but he was a player that came to us in a time of need and carried us through a few seasons.
Yeah.
And he built a massive connection with the fans, massive, just his aura in general. He's got a tattoo of him and his kids coming down the Arsenal tunnel on his arm. You know what I mean? The connection there with the club's massive. It's not a joke. Yeah. Now, do I blame him for wanting to go to Chelsea? No, I don't blame him, because he was kind of forced out of Arsenal with Mikel Arteta. It's not like he ever come out and spoke any kind of crud afterwards or chatted shit about the club or anything like that. He's always kept it pretty much professional in that sense. We watched the All or Nothing documentary, so we got a little bit more of an insight to what was going on. Even during the time, he might have gone over to Barcelona and tried to pen his deal early, and the Edu and people in the club didn't know. But at the end of the day, he didn't really do anything significant to throw like a backlash at the club or anything like that. So as a player, he hasn't gone with hate. He's not a player that we've left and lost to a rival straight away. And with Aubameyang, it was time for him to move on, because as we've seen now, we brought in a player of Jesus. Now, if I say to any Arsenal fans, who would you take, Jesus or Aubameyang? Hands down, everyone would say Jesus, because what he offers is a lot more than Aubameyang, a lot more than just goals to the team.
And it's longer term.
I wanted to get your standpoint, though, on how this recruitment for Chelsea this year is looking, because, to be honest, for me, it looks like they're moving a little bit erratic with the players that they're trying to sign, players that they're linked with, like 60 million for Antony Gordon from Everton.
That's a weird one.
It's a bit of a madness.
One's a weird one, because the if we just pivot onto the Antony Gordon one, and we can come back to, you know what, I was going to call him Agbonlahor then. What disrespect.
Yeah, don't say that. He'll come for you, Gabby Agbonlahor, after what you did.
He's firing. The weird one about the Antony Gordon move is, like, I look at Gallagher, who had a great season at Crystal Palace, but has come back into that Chelsea side and seems to have struggled really to, like, transition to that style of play, transition to maybe the pressure, transition it. The other thing you got to remember with some of these players, when they've been on loan at a club and come back to a Chelsea, a City, an Arsenal, a Liverpool, is that where they've been playing well, they've been playing well in a system and for a team that's usually the secondary team in a match. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's the team that's under pressure. It's the team that's counter-attacking. It's the team that's, so when you then switch sides and you're now playing for a Chelsea, a City, a Liverpool, and you're the team that's got more possession, and you're the team that's expected to control the game, and as a midfielder, you're expected to kind of dictate the tempo and things like this. Sometimes, no matter how good these players look when they're on loan away from Chelsea, they come back, and time again, we've seen, especially with young English players, they come back and it just doesn't quite work. So for it to not, at the moment, not really be looking like it's quite working with Gallagher, and for them to then be talking about spending all this money on Gordon, it just doesn't make full sense to me. Okay, I know Gordon and Gallagher aren't identical, but they're similar-ish, you know what I mean? They're young, small, English, kind of like attacking midfielders.
Well, there's been potential talk of Everton saying to Chelsea, look, if we give you Antony Gordon, we're looking to take Gallagher in on a loan and replace, which, to be fair, with the link between Frank Lampard and Chelsea, that's something that you can see happening. But I think you bring up a great point, Bish. I think you bring up a great point about a lot of players going out of Chelsea on loan, having good seasons, and either just getting sold on straight away or not be able to come back and fit the mold of Chelsea. Either you could say it's good business tactics in getting young talent and nurturing them and selling them on for money, then you can obviously use that money and bring it into the first team and bring in different players. Maybe you can look at it that aspect. But then again, you can look at it the way Arsenal have done things, and we've managed to bring in players like Martinelli. Obviously, we brought in from Young, Saka, Smith Rowe, and Nketiah. Players are coming through, but we've give players some loan time, and we've managed to nurture them and fit them back into the team, which will only give future youngsters that hope and that hunger to even do more, even do well, even more. Because say, for example, now you're a youngster and you're playing for an Arsenal or a Chelsea or a Liverpool or a City or whoever it may be. And in the back of your mind, you're thinking, you know what, I'm just going to go out, play good on loan, and then they're just going to ship me off. You know what I mean? You might not have that level of hunger with that same club. So it all works in swings and roundabouts.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I think that maybe also there's a bit of an element with Chelsea at the moment of that squad looking a little bit disjointed. Like it's starting to look like a team that's kind of, it's got a few players that are like a hangover from an old team. It's got a few players that are like good players, but maybe don't fully fit with some of the other players. You don't look at it and see cohesion and see like a philosophy. It's not like Mourinho Chelsea, where it was like, right, I can see what Chelsea is to the league. This is what they are. This is what they represent. This is how they move. This is how we expect them to play. These are the kind of players we expect to do well there or to come there. You don't get that feeling at Chelsea at the moment. So Aubameyang, on one hand, £21 million, if that is what it is, and then however much they'll have to pay in wages, which I'm sure is probably going to be at least another 10 million a year minimum. On one hand, you could say, well, that probably does get you goals. Do you know what I mean? Aubameyang, I know I cussed us out last week on the last show about people saying, "Oh, you're buying 20 goals," because there's always a knock-on effect with the player that you don't play instead. But Aubameyang coming, you are probably going to increase the goal tally, especially for that Chelsea team that doesn't really have an out-and-out striker. They probably are going to get an extra 15 goals minimum a season by integrating him into the squad. Maybe they're thinking 20 million is worth it for those 15 goals.
Do you know what though,
Tom? I don't see him fitting into a
33 though. 33. What do you think? 33. Do you reckon that the boxing's smart, or do you feel like it's just panicking because there's no strikers out there? They've seen an opportunity to pounce on him. Maybe get one over Arsenal fans mentally in a certain sense. Because I'd be gutted if Aubameyang went to Chelsea. I'd be gutted if he went to any Premier League team, because this is a player that we as fans invested a lot of love into. And it's not nice. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. It's not nice, one of your top players from the past moves to another team in the Premier League. It was like with Cesc Fabregas. I didn't like it that he came back from Barca and went to Chelsea. Now, that was our fault again, because he was offered to us and Wenger knocked him. But in my heart of hearts, I ain't going to like seeing him playing in a blue shirt in it. But it is what it is, and like I said, I can't knock him for it.
I've got a bit of a history of this now as well. Like you say, we've seen it with Fabregas. I mean, from Aubameyang's perspective, like you said, it's hard to feel anything bad towards Aubameyang because you can see how he's been put in a corner. Like there's no one else probably that would take him or that could afford to take him. It's a messy situation over there at Barca, and he's probably being forced out the door there anyway. He was forced out the door of Arsenal, so he's been put in this position. Like it wouldn't be fair on him just as a professional and as just a person to say, well, we want you to just sacrifice the last years of your career and go somewhere shit or make loads less money just so you don't sell out Arsenal. Like that's a lot to ask. But I think from a Chelsea perspective, I just don't know. I think buying old players on money that you probably won't be able to recoup can work. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think of an example. But
look at Tuchel, just to interrupt you there. Sorry, but look at Tuchel. He's worked with Aubameyang before. This is a manager who will be able to look at him, look at his best assets, what he can give to the team, and he knows what he's going to get out of him. Now, the one thing about Aubameyang is, he might not be the Aubameyang of 2-3 years ago where he's absolutely just pelting in the goals. But the last thing that goes is you finish, and that's the one thing he has still got. For example, yesterday's game, bro, that volley that he hit, it's not an easy technique to score like that. It near post as well. It just shows you the levels of quality. And with Chelsea right now, I don't feel like they've actually got anybody that's a proper bagsman, really. They put all the eggs in the basket with Lukaku. Obviously, didn't work out. They've got rid of him now. They've got Brozier, who's was at Southampton last season, did very well. He looks like he ain't really getting a sniff. I don't know if he's got injury problems or what it might be, but he ain't getting a sniff. But I think all round for Chelsea, Aubameyang, it will only improve them. They've let Werner go as well. And you got to think if Aubameyang was getting them opportunities Werner was getting, you're getting 15, 20 goals out of him, definitely.
It's going to be a very fast, like pacey attack as well. If you imagine, you know, all of a sudden you got Sterling, Aubameyang, and Havertz lining up as a front three, that's a lot of pace and a lot of runs in behind, a lot of that kind of very direct, dangerous players. Do you know what I mean? Aubameyang, like you said, he's still got the finish. I don't feel like he's lost his pace completely yet. He still looks fast when I see him moving across the pitch. Maybe in 2 years' time that's going to start to go. But you know, I don't think it's a bad move from Chelsea. The only thing is, like you said, are they being a little bit erratic? Are they just buying players for players' sake as opposed to having like an overarching strategy? And this comes back to that thing about who's making decisions, who's buying the players, who's got the long-term strategy beyond just the next year, 2 years, 3 years. This Chelsea team doesn't give me like we're one player away from trying to win a trophy. They might feel like that. They got to a few finals last year. They might feel like we're only one player away, but I don't get that feeling. I feel like there are a few pieces short of being able to really seriously challenge for stuff. So then then it seems like a weird signing. You understand buying a player at the back end of the years, and you know, paying some big money for just a year or two and then not getting nothing back on them if they're gonna be the last piece that gets you a Champions League or gets you a Premier League or gets you the top 4. But if you're kind of just, you know, knocking around in the same place you were last season and you're in a rebuild, that's not the time to buy players that are going to hold no value for 2 years.
I think this owner that's come in as well, I think he's just trying to appease the fans as well.
Yeah.
Because you got to think, he's taking over Roman Abramovich, who's this guy, the fans loved him, regardless if you hate him or like him as opposing fans. He went to Chelsea and he turned him into a winning club. Get me? He won him Premier League, he won him Champions League. He pumped in money out of his own pocket into that club. And you know what? There's, like we've discussed on many other Premier League unpacks, there's not really been an owner like Abramovich in the Premier League. Yeah, you might have owners like City who've got money and stuff like that. But the way he pumps his money into his club is just is different. Obviously, that's gone now. This new guy's come in. He's got, like I said, is to please the fans, make everyone stay on board. Otherwise, Chelsea a couple of months ago was looking in a disarray as a football club. You know what I'm saying? Now, coming back to the weekend result, they just got pumped in 3-0 by Leeds. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, with the way things are going right now,
if they can afford it, any addition is a good addition. Do you know what I mean? It's been one of them windows. Like Arsenal right now, they've added really well in this window. I think they've bought better than Chelsea have in this window. But if Arsenal went out today and spent a bit more money on another player and you thought, not the best deal, but it's still a good player, at this point in the window when you've already done your main business, you probably say, look, I'll take any little bonus signings now. If Arsenal get anyone else through the door now, it's a bonus, isn't it? Like that, because you're probably prepared as an Arsenal fan for you guys not to do any more business.
Nah, we need more, man. We need it.
I know you need more. But
I'm hoping, fam. I'm hoping. I'm expecting.
Yeah.
I'm expecting.
If you well, there you go.
Because I'll be there with a baseball bat outside the Emirates looking for, man. I'm telling you now, because do you know what it is? Like I've mentioned on many streams
opportunity
before,
missed
bro,
if they don't. Yeah,
we've always been a couple players away. How many times have you heard Arsenal? Always 2 players away. A centre defensive midfielder away. A centre back away. Yeah. For fuck's sake, just get it done, man. Just put them extra 2 players in. But now, obviously, with that financial fair play watch list, Arsenal's just being added to. It does complicate things a little bit. So maybe with the likes of Nicolas Pepe moving on, and we'll just touch on him now. He's agreed a move to Nice. But it frees up wages. You get me? It frees up opportunity to bring in
for him?
another. He's on a loan. He's on a loan with no option to buy. To be honest with you, bro. Okay. So it's a bit of a mad one. I think they're just trying to free him up to get the wage. To get the wages off the bill, and then maybe they could bring someone else in, or potentially they're trying to look at increasing his value on a loan and then selling him on. Which personally, I don't think he's going to increase his value within a season that much. If he does, credit to him, but I think they should have just tried to get rid of him now and sell him on if they didn't have plans. Because personally, I think there was a player in Pepe. I just don't think he was under the right manager in order to get the best out of him. Some players are
Yep.
like that. And moving on from Pepe will only give us opportunity to bring in either one of these players that have been knocking around in question, Pedro Neto or Wilfred Zaha. Now, my money is on Pedro Neto, to be honest with you. I think the boat sailed with Zaha, even though I would still take him. I just think the age criteria doesn't really suit the bill at Arsenal right now. But if somebody said to me, do you
And
want
it's
Zaha in your
Zaha.
team? I'll take him in the team. Yeah.
He's
But
also a bit samey with what you've already
wrong
got.
one.
Like, there are other players that you've got that are good in those positions, and you've got a bit of depth in them positions now. I think, yeah, you would take it, but if you could bring in a player like a Tielemans, or, you know, a player that's going to fill a different hole in the pitch where you're a bit thinner, I think you take that before you take another winger. I would guess, as an Arsenal fan. If you get
Oliver.
if it's Tielemans,
Arteta killed Pepe. Yes.
well, either that or he was already dead.
But you know what? People say that, yeah. But before Arteta came on the scene and it was like his first season, he scored like 20 odd goals, Pepe. Do you know what I mean? Like he was doing bits and then he never really got a sniff or an opportunity the following season. And that's something that I couldn't really grasp or understand because he was our leading scorer the season before. You're not really giving this guy an opportunity. But I think what it is with Pepe, I think he wasn't his signing. He didn't bring him in. And with Arteta, he looks like a ruthless geezer. If you don't like you, by the looks of it, you're on your way out. Now, is he doing it for the best of the football club? I would potentially say yes. The reason being is because he's been here a few years now, Pepe. If he was going to excel, he would have done it by now. It gives room for an opportunity for another signing to come in, freshen things up, and add to the younger crop of players that we got. You know what I'm saying?
So if you could have one more player out of the players that Arsenal are rumoured to get, so, you know, anyone you've been attached with this window, if you could only get one of them before the window closes, who would you get?
Oh, that's a hard one, because I think we need two.
I'm just saying we're not trying to
that we've been linked with, and it not somebody that we just want, that we've been linked to.
No, someone that you've
with.
been associated with, yeah. Exactly.
Right, okay. I'd have to go for Tielemans because he's young. I mean, not young. He's cheap. Sorry, he's cheap. Like I'm saying, hearing reports of 23. He still is young. He's what 26 years old.
I was going to say
so
he's
not even. He's not even that old. He's got a lot of Premier League experience. Which, when you go to another league and pick out players from that league, you don't know whether they're going to come and settle in and is all going to hit the ground running. Where with Tielemans, over the last couple of years, we've seen what he can offer. Yeah, he might need to run around a little bit more, but you could just say that might be down to a lack of motivation, being at Leicester, having 1 year left and knowing that a move's potentially on the horizon. But if we lose a Xhaka or a Partey in midfield, it's going to cause big problems, bro, because we've seen it last season, and that's evidence when one of them is out. Even though I'm not, the biggest Granit Xhaka fan, he's one of our best midfielders we got at the club. So if one of them two players are out, we're sure Lokonga will come in, but is he ready? Last season, he didn't look ready. El Neni can come in and do a job.
With Lokonga, do you think he's going to be a player eventually?
Yeah, I think he will. He's had high praise from loads of people, Vincent Kompany, loads of people that have given him that praise. So there's got to be something in him. In times last season, we did see glimpses of it pre-season. The time that he did get, he came on, played well, scored a goal. So I think with him, it's just about taking time. He's still young as well. But would I say he's ready this season to take us to that next level or push us on if them two players are out? No. Do I say El Neni will? No, he'll come in and do a job, but he won't do it. So Tielemans, for me, I'd say get him in there. The reason I haven't said a striker is because we have still got Eddie in it. Whether he's going to be the right guy or not, we've still actually got him, and he's been looking all right in pre-season. So I'd give him a little shout. What do you say? What do you think we need?
And Martinelli can go down the middle if he has to.
Worst comes to worst, yeah.
Worst comes to worst. Martinelli can go down the middle. You can have someone else out wide.
Fabio Vieira, that's come in the team. We've not seen him play as well.
Yeah.
So he could potentially push out onto one of the wings. Smith Rowe can play out on the wing.
Situation with Smith Rowe or Vieira.
Exactly.
Be interesting to see if we see any opportunities for Arteta to play a false nine this season. He seems like he's getting a bit more confidence to play some of those more tactically kind of Spanish technical moves. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see Arsenal play with a false nine in a cup game or something like that this year, if they don't get a striker, because they're going to need to prepare for the chance or the situation where they would need one. Yeah, I think Tielemans, If there was another person I'm trying to think if there's anyone else you've been linked with in midfield that's just got a little bit more energy. Like, it would be great if you could get someone with.
We
like,
was linked with that Paqueta, weren't we? But he looks like he's on the verge of signing for West Ham, and that'd be a very good signing for West Ham, to be honest.
I'm just always a bit wary of Arsenal having too many of those kind of like attacking players, attacking minded midfielders that are a little bit, maybe a little bit lacking in steel, lacking in energy, lacking in both being able to go both ways. So you've already got Odegaard in there. I know Tielemans and Odegaard aren't the same player, but I think back to the Özil era, even like Nasri at times, you know, they're all top players, but I think a lot of times with Arsenal, there's been an imbalance in midfield where they haven't had that box-to-box guy. Do you know what I mean? And when they have had him, you had Fabregas. And Fabregas was brilliant at that. He is the perfect complete, like, he gives you all of the quality of a Tielemans with that box-to-box energy. Wilshere was that, but he was just unfortunate with injuries.
Santi Cazorla was a bad man.
Santi Cazorla was absolutely that. But there have been other midfields at times. And then oftentimes when you did have them players, you didn't have a Partey with them. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
What I would like to see is Arsenal with a Partey that gives you that steel and that defensive-minded. And again, if you look at City, you usually have these components in the mix. So you've got the De Jong or the Fernandinho, or you've got that Rodri, you've got that defensive, steely, covering midfielder who can still play the ball, who's still quality, but is like, their mind is first on defense.
Yeah.
Then you've got one of the midfield three who's the opposite. You know what I mean? You've got your Silva, you've got your Odegaard, you've got your Foden, whoever. They're more thinking about going forwards. Again, they still have to have energy. They still have to be able to defend, because in these modern teams, your midfielders have to be able to do everything. But they're not doing the job that Rodri's doing. They're not doing the job that Partey's doing. I think what City have got right, when it's been right, is that third player in there has been a Yaya Toure. It's been a Kevin De Bruyne. It's been someone that brings quality and brings dynamism, brings power, brings effort, brings coverage to the midfield. And I think if you don't have that third player with that balance, it can go a bit too much either way. We've seen with United where they've had two midfielders that are too steely. You've got like McTominay and Fred, who are not only not good enough, but it's like too many of them Rodri-esque players. And we've seen too many midfields where you've got too many of the Odegaard, Silva kind of. You have to have that mix. And I think I just worry that Tielemans might be a little bit lacking in what you would need for him to bring that, to be the balanced one in the midfield. You know what I mean? It'd be great if you could go out and get a...
Do you know what though? Just to interrupt you, Bish, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. I think you're right, but I feel like the reason we could facilitate for a Tielemans within this team is because of the structure that I'm seeing right about now, and the structure that we're playing with is Zinchenko is dropping in and lining with Partey, which gives you that cover. And it's allowing Granit Xhaka to push forward. Now, where my standpoint is, if we was to replace a Granit Xhaka with a Tielemans, we're going to be getting a lot more of an attacking-minded player going forward. You know what I mean? And that facilitates for him maybe not being so great at that second part of the game defensively. Zinchenko's coming in and he's more or less playing two positions in a sense, really. He's more or less playing left back and he's playing dropping into midfield. So I feel like that would facilitate us going forward more, because last season, the one thing we lacked massively, bro, was goals. We couldn't get the goals. And that all starts from creativeness from behind the strikers, bro. Now, we didn't have man that were creating chances and opportunities. At the moment, the team collectively are playing very, very well. Now, once a little dip in form happens and the team collectively ain't playing well, which are them standout players that you can say, right, I was going to go and grab the game by the scruff of the neck, or score a mad free kick, or score a 30, 40-yard shot. Tielemans, personally, for me, can do that. I've seen him do it in games.
Tielemans can do... I think you made some really good points there, and I do agree with you. And I know that Tielemans can be a game winner. What I don't know that he is a grab a game by the scruff of the neck player. He is a game winner. He's a guy that can score screamers. He's a guy that can create something out of nothing. But if things aren't going your way, if the midfield are getting overrun, I don't know if he's the guy that's going to get a hold of the game, switch the tempo. And in fairness to Xhaka, you know, one thing that he does bring generally is a lot of coverage. You know what I mean? He covers a lot of ground. He brings a lot of energy to that midfield. And
we'll jump onto Newcastle in a moment. I've got a little something for them as well.
We do need to go to Newcastle. I just think with Arsenal, you want to be careful about. You want to look back to last season, but what you don't want to do is like diagnose last season and buy players that are meant to be a solution for last season, if potentially some of the components you've already brought in might have already changed that dynamic. Already, it looks like Jesus coming in, and not only the goals he's going to bring, but the impact he's having on creating space in them forward areas, getting possession back in the forward areas, helping the ball to be able to, like, he seems to be giving you guys an outlet where even sometimes when it's not the most incredible ball up front, it's just a ball into his feet. It's coming into him and chances are getting created.
Creating something out of nothing, yeah.
Yeah, so what you don't want to do is then say, right, if we had the creative player that we were missing last season, it's definitely going to be better. But if we had him, and then now we lose a bit of energy in midfield, now we're not able to have that same press that's been so successful in the start of the season and swarm teams in the way we're doing, and we start to get overrun in the middle, then maybe we start getting less possession and maybe we're not able to get the ball into Jesus as much anyway. So it is a tricky one with Tielemans. I could see why there might be a little bit of hesitation from Arteta or Edu to just press the button on him.
I'll be honest, the reason why I'd go for him, like I said, is because, like I said, bro, I'm only putting a player in that we've been linked to in it, because I could just put in any player and say this player would do the job in it.
Now you get Modric.
We haven't been linked to any centre defensive midfielders. Get me? We haven't been linked to anybody really else other than Paqueta, Savic, and them have died down. The only one that's still alive is Tielemans, and to be fair, for £23 million, bro, that's fuck all in this day and age. You know what I mean, bro? That's not even a risk in it. That's just squad depth.
Yeah, you're taking for squad depth. For 20, I didn't know it was 23 mil. I thought you were going to get slapped for about 50 or 60.
Nah, he's got like a year left in it.
Oh, at 23 mil, you would buy him and put him on the shelf for 23 mil.
Exactly. But the thing is with Tielemans, bro, like I'm saying, what I've seen from him in the Premier League, though, I'm not going to say, he's the best player ever, but he's good. When I've watched him play, he's played very well. And maybe, like I said, last season, you weren't seeing the best Tielemans, but when you put him in the side of Belgium with the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and all these players, he's standing out. He's standing out.
You know what?
Now, it doesn't take a shit player to do that.
Yeah, I take my whole point back. At 23 million, I should have asked first how much it's going to be. I take back everything I said. At 23 million, what are Arsenal playing at? Get him signed, get him through the door. Because the reality is, even if he has one decent season at Arsenal, you're probably going to be able to sell him for 40 to somebody else.
But even if you kept him for 2 seasons, tell he's 28, but you don't know what he can do. Being around players like a Jesus and Odegaard and Partey, he could bring a different level of Tielemans out. You get me?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's been doing it at Leicester. Leicester have got some good players around him. Personally, I think James Maddison's a better player, but obviously he's a bit more of a 10, where Tielemans plays a little bit deeper. But I think he would add quality to our team. He'd add squad depth. He'll add Premier League experience. He's had experience with his age as well. He's not very young. He's 26. So it's a steal for me.
What do you think's holding it up? Do you think it's Leicester not wanting to sell?
Nah, I think it's just the last day, bro. I think when it comes to transfer deadline day now, and
people wait till the end.
Yeah, because Leicester haven't really got an option then in it. They're either going to lose him for free, where at the moment it looks like they're in a bit of a turmoil situation where they're not bringing any players in or anything like that. Can they be willing to let players go for free? At the end of the day, this ain't a big six club. They might be rich or whatnot, but financial fair play kicks into play. Can you let this afford this guy to go for free? Because I don't think they can.
Because the Fofana deal's still not cemented, is it?
To be fair, if they got rid of him, then they potentially keep Tielemans in it. You know what I mean?
From an Arsenal perspective, you'd rather Leicester keep Fofana, Chelsea don't strengthen, and you guys get Tielemans at the end when they're desperate to sell.
Do you know what, bro? I would have took Bruno Guimaraes, man. I'm still gutted about that as well. You know, from Newcastle as well.
They need you as a scout at Arsenal, man. Everyone that you called in the last year has gone and been quality somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the sausages, man. But let's move on to Newcastle now. Alexander Isak has basically completed a medical at Newcastle, and this looks like their first big money signing since they've had all the millions and billions pumped in their club. And to be honest, I'm going to give Newcastle some credit. They've had a lot of money pumped into their club, and I think they've acted very responsibly. Whether that's because they're scared of people saying, oh, you brought the league, you brought this, you brought that, like Man City. But are they just being reserved and actually looking at certain situations like United, Chelsea, other teams that have just pumped loads of money into clubs and is not really worked out? You know what I mean?
I think also Newcastle were in a different starting point to where City were. I know it's easy to think that it's the same situation, but City had already had Taskin Shinawatra before that. We'd already had one owner that had come in that had started to move us in the right direction. We'd already got the new stadium. We'd already started to get a few signings through the door. But under Taskin Shinawatra, we were competing for UEFA. European Cup spot, so we were around 7th, 8th. So when the Sheikhs came in, we were knocking around 7th, 8th. We weren't, one season fresh back in the Premier League, 2 seasons fresh back in the Premier League, fighting relegation with a terrible owner that had been running us into the ground for years. So I think if you come into any business that's in a bad way, you don't want to rush to start throwing money at stuff because you need to see where the holes are, so you don't just start pouring money into a hole. Do you know what I mean? I think last Christmas window, they had to be careful because what they didn't want to do was buy a load of players and then get relegated. Take your draw against Newcastle, fam. Bro, just wait until you guys play them. It'd be a 10-0 at that.
United fans are buzzing, aren't they, now? Because they've beat Liverpool. But to be fair, though, I've got to give them credit, though, Tom. I've got to give them credit, I've been killing these man off, and I'm surprised that they actually got the victory against Liverpool.
They'll lose the next game. They'll be back to losing 4-0 again next week. I gave them about 10 minutes of sympathy and I'm over it. I'm back to hoping to get relegated.
But you know what, though? Like I was saying, with Man City, you went out and you brought name players in it. Now, what that does is it gives the club exposure to a certain degree. Like, you went out, brought Robinho, you looked at Arsenal, ripped our players. And at the time, like players like Samir Nasri was doing bits in the Premier League, was involved in the French squad, stuff like that, where I don't think Newcastle are looking that route. I think with Eddie Howe in play, they're just trying to build slowly and steadily and trying to stay off the radar a little bit with the signings they're getting. I think this one with Isaac is a big one, and I think this is the first one that they've made. Is this going to lead them on to just doing more of it, do you reckon? Well, just splashing the cash.
I think sometimes we get a bit of a blurry like memory when we think back to City. So City's first 10 signings under the Abu Dhabi group was Robinho. Robinho is the big one that we all
but that's what I'm trying to say. You get the money in it, you go straight away.
But I think but other than Robinho, it was Wayne Bridge, Craig Bellamy, Nigel de Jong, who was unknown at the time. Obviously, ended up being one of the best defensive midfielders we've seen, but at the time he was Shay Given, Gunnar Nielsen, Gareth Barry, Roque Santa Cruz, Stuart Taylor.
Santa Cruz,
And then the next season they went and got Tevez. So I do think.
Did you get Santa Cruz from Blackburn?
Yeah.
Wow, so, he was all right at one stage, Santa Cruz had him on FIFA.
You look at them buying Bruno. Okay, Bruno Guimaraes maybe isn't the sexy name that Robinho is, but he came from a Champions League side. He's a top player. Trippier had come. I just think they have been clever. I think they've definitely been more intelligent with the signings they've made. But I just think it's a different climate. I think Newcastle had to be careful because they were starting with a worse foundation. So they didn't want to buy fucking £100 million striker and then get relegated and be stuck with him. And they probably had to have a good start to the season even to be able to go out there and say to someone, look, this is what we did last season. This is what we've done at the start of this season. This is what the project is. Come and believe in it. And someone like Isaac's probably looked at him and said, you know what? They just drew with City on the weekend. And this is something I was going to ask you about generally about transfers, and we can come back to it. But I think having the transfer window after the season started, it can either really help or really fuck you over. Because if you're a team like Newcastle, you've had a really good start, and that game, I wouldn't be surprised if that draw against City was the final thing to push them over the line with this Isaac's,
100%, because
transfer.
Callum Wilson got injured, didn't he? Pulled his hammy.
Well, but also I'm just saying from Isaac's perspective, if he had any doubts, he would have been weighing it up. Do we go with it? And then you watch that game on the weekend and you think, okay, something's going on.
Fair enough. They could stand toe to toe.
If they got spanked 6-0 by City on the weekend, maybe he takes a second and takes a pause and says, "Oh, could I end up in a problem?" Do you know what I mean? I think that I think Marcel's bang on, and I think 100%. If nobody's looking forward to playing against them, then as a player you start to feel a bit more positive about playing for them. because you know you're going to go somewhere where it's going to be you're going to have a decent situation. So I think they had to be patient, but I also do think that they've been clever. The money has got crazy now. There's bare teams that are spending 100 million, 80 million, 70 million. Back in the day, it was only a top few teams, and City came in and kind of broke the mold a little bit. And in fairness, a lot of the signings that City did and a lot of the money they spent kind of filtered down the league and did start to put other clubs on a little bit. They brought a lot of extra money into the
Do you know
league.
what, bro? I think, do you know what it is with City as well? It's just the time when City got money, it was new in it. Like, obviously, we had Roman Abramovich, but that kind of money wasn't like City money in it. And it wasn't like, how can I explain it? Like, City never really was up there, as you can say, or they were more
or
or less
in recent times, not since the 60s.
Yeah, like I'm just talking from when I'm alive in it, you know
what
I mean, bro?
Yeah,
so from what I can remember now, like obviously even living next to City and everything, bro, like there was always been a good harmony amongst the fans, but it was always that bit of disappointment. And I think when the money 100%. Did come into City, you got to understand Manchester United with a big team right then. So it's the level of competition and just the media and everything, making everything 10 times bigger than what it is. Yeah. You got to understand it does play into hand. But the Robinho signing, though, was massive, though, because he was actually massive at that stage. And there was loads of players that people after him, United wanted him, loads of teams wanted him. And I think that did set the tone for other players like Bellamy and stuff like that to come to the club. And I think it might have been the second season you stripped us down for everyone, but Clichy, Adebayor, Nasri, everyone just ended up getting this Bakary Sagna as well. You know what I mean? So you're right with the progression. I agree with you, bro. Like it does take them steps to look at it. Is when you look at West Ham as well. This is another example of it. Last season, West Ham, other than like say the top 4, top 5 clubs, West Ham were up there. Now the only way West Ham can move to that next level is bringing in a different level of player. Now a lot of players ain't going to want to go to West Ham because are they going to believe that they're going to keep that same fight moving forward? Where the difference with Newcastle is, players like Isaac going to know, right, well, if they're not doing well, these managers going to be pumping more money in the club anyway to make us do well. So it's not really, with Newcastle, it's a matter of time rather than if they're going to do it. You know what I mean?
It's players. I think there are certain players that come in ahead of the curve. No, because even if you look at the year before the Abu Dhabi group came in, and this is what I try to say to people, like people don't really know enough or remember enough about when we were under the Thai owner and the money that we got then. Because in that year under Sven-Göran Eriksson, the year before the Abu Dhabi group came in, some of the guys that we had then, we bought Ilano then, who ended up being a really good player for City, and that Brazilian connection, he was kind of part of apparently
Benjani
over. We had Vedran Korluka, who was a bad boy right back at the time. He was like us. He lasted another few years into the Abu Dhabi group. Garrido was at left back for a while into that group, and then we had a few of them guys that looked like they were going to be good and never quite made it. We had what was the guy's name? Bojinov.
I thought you talked about Benjani.
Bojinov, Bianco, Gelson Fernandez. So there was guys we were buying that was the equivalent of Newcastle's first round of purchases. I just feel like they've done it quicker. So we had to have a whole 2-3 seasons with the Thai owners of buying like mid-table players, and then we had the Abu Dhabi group and we bought all of them guys that we just said, who apart from Robinho, most of them guys are lesser players than what Newcastle have bought. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but Craig Bellamy at the time in the league was doing bits, bro. Like he was a good player in the league,
and he did bits for City as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it's not like they got him dead. Like he was a good player, man.
But they weren't buying outside of Robinho. None of them players were
superstars
Trippier level or Gomes level, really. So it's like Newcastle. They're being really sensible, but they're also not wasting time. It's not like they just
proactive.
They're being proactive. I like it. Like it's like they're being sensible and speedy at the same time. And I think a lot of other clubs, Arsenal included, kind of need to look at that as a model. Like you don't have to be wild like United and throw 900 million at the squad every year, but also don't wait on your heels too long, because what happens is if you wait too long and you build too slow, you're losing pieces as you bring in pieces. So if Newcastle hadn't added this season, Saint Maximin will end up going. Do you know 100%. What I mean? What's that top lad that they got in midfield, centre midfielder?
Yeah, that Joe Linton.
Joe Linton. You know what I mean? Some of these guys will just get picked up and taken if you don't continue to add to the project.
But you got to give Eddie Howe massive credit for that as well. Joe Linton was a striker, bro. You get me? The guys put him back into more or less midfield. And to be fair, I got to give Eddie Howe some props, because since Newcastle, I think he came in, they lost 14 games in a row. Or not lost 14, but they didn't win in 14 games. And as soon as he's come in, he's just basically turned it around on its head, and they're probably one of the most informed teams. But what do you think Alexander Isak's going to offer to Newcastle? Because he's a tall youth. Since 2019, he's joined Real Sociedad.
Where was he at before again?
Dortmund.
I seen him at Dortmund. I remember him playing against City at Dortmund.
He only scored 44 goals in the Liga in 132 appearances. So he's not, I wouldn't say he's so clinical, but he was a player that was linked to Arsenal last season. Well, not even last season, this season really. And in January as well, he's being linked. But I'm buzzing with Jesus. I'm happy with him. You get me, bro. But I would have took him as a different option, but he's too expensive to take as a different option. You get me? You can invest that money around.
It's been a weird window, hasn't it? Because you've got Isaacs, who's just gone for 50 odd million or whatever it is, 60 million. But then you've had Jesus that came to Arsenal for only, 30 odd million.
I think 45
million. Even 45. If you've got Jesus, who is not only, I would say, clearly better than Isaacs, but is more proven, more tested, and has got winning experience. If you can pick him up for cheaper than what someone else is paying for Isaacs. City paid less than. I know it's situational. I know it's about contracts. And Newcastle couldn't have got Jesus, so that is the end of that story. You have to buy the best from what you can get. But it has been a weird window like that, where one player goes for 80 million, and then a player that's twice as good as them goes for 30 million. Do you know what I mean?
Is that us, bro? We can't get fucking 2 pennies for anyone that we're getting rid of, bro. We're literally giving man away. You know what I'm trying to say? But let's move on from Newcastle now, because we've touched on him quite a bit. Let's move on to Manchester United. And this man here has put in a transfer request, Antony to Ajax. And the deal looks like it's going to end up getting done for around 80, 90 mil.
You know that picture, bro? I think someone said that was the first time they knew he wanted to go to United, because he was like, losers. It was like he was signaling to United, like, come and get me. I want to be a loser too.
You know what? There's a bit of talent to him, I've been following him, for a little bit. I won't say in depth, but I watch him here and there. Obviously, as everyone does, YouTube him and all of that as well. But he seems like he's got a bit of flair to him. He's a Brazilian player, and it's something that I think United need massively. They need some pace, because I think Jadon Sancho was a bit of a fraud in that sense, because personally, before he come, I thought he was rapid. I don't know why.
Oh, I get you. Sorry. I thought you were saying he's a fraud as a player, but you mean
he scored a good goal. Yeah, he's not fast. For some reason, I don't know why, I thought Jadon Sancho was going to be I thought he was going to be dead pacey and quick, but he's more of a technical player than he is a pacey player, and I think United are lacking that. They've got Alanga, you can give him that pace. Rashford, you can give him that pace. But if they had another winger like on the right-hand side that could just bomb it down, that's another option. And to be fair, United squad need massive, massive surgery, bro. They brought in Casemiro, 30-year-old, who, to be fair, I feel like for now, he's going to be a perfect signing for now. Whether he's going to be one for the future and for their building of their process, that's another question. But I feel like they need more signings than just that Antony. What do you take on it?
So there's two ways of looking at it. On one hand, if you look at this signing in isolation, and like you said, he looks like a good player. I think he brings something different that they haven't got. He brings some Champions League experience. Ten Hag, obviously, is looking at anyone from Ajax that he's got experience working with. But at the same time, is that what...
100%.
That's what I was going to say first. Is the money that they're going to spend on him going to be worth it, right? Bearing in mind that with United, we spoke a few times today, and I think as fans we're getting better and a bit more savvy about knowing that this money comes from somewhere, and at every club it doesn't come from the same place. If this was City going out and buying him now, you know that money's either going to be coming from money that we've got from winning trophies or money that's coming out the Abu Dhabi pockets. At United, we've seen time and time again that any purchases that are being made out of United's cash reserves and residual income. So if they're going to go out and spend 80 million, 90 million, 100 million, 70 million, 60 million on a player who is, and this is the other thing, clearly these are Ten Hag signings then. We weren't sure whether it was Ten Hag that wanted to go out and get an Arnautovic or not, but clearly we can see from the signings they're making that most of these are Ten Hag signings. And no matter how good Ten Hag is, we've seen that isn't the way that it's done in modern football. You don't just let managers buy players, because then if the manager leaves, the next manager that comes in might not want that player. You have to let somebody that's going to be there beyond that manager make these signings, especially if United might spend money that really they don't have. They ain't got it anymore. They only said the other day that they've used all the cash reserves. They need money to build the stadium. They need money to invest in the training complex. They're not recouping on any of the players that they're buying. They bought Pogba, sold him back for free. They spent all this money on Maguire. Now it looks like he's out of favour. They're not going to get no money for him. They've not been able to get Ronaldo, get rid of him. Like, I just think that financially they're in a sticky position. And if you said to me, right, United can only afford to add in one or two positions, spend big money in one or two positions, on the wing would be the last place I'm thinking.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? You need to get a centre back. You need to get a right back. You need to get a goalkeeper. Probably could do with another centre midfielder. Like that. Probably winger might actually be the last position on the pitch that I would spend money for United.
Because for me, Sancho's I think their midfield needs a massive overhaul, bro.
Tell a lie though, bro. Where on the pitch would you say that they've got more depth than on the wings? That might be the one area of the pitch that they're actually semi-okay.
Maybe I don't know if that Tellers is gone yet. That Alex Tellers. I don't know if he's gone, but they've got quite a few left backs and right backs. I think
but
now
they're all shit. None of them are at the level that you want them to be at, are they?
Do you know what, though?
Wings, you'd say Sancho is good enough. Rashford on his day is probably good enough.
Antony could be another Pepe. Just imagine. Big money. But you know what? Ajax are ripping the absolute pants off United. You know, Marcel's 100% right, because I thought they've got a good working relationship with them. I'm sure Edwin van der Sar's there and all of that kind of tackle. And these men are getting the pants pulled down left, right, and centre. There we go. Tellez went to Sevilla on loan, I thought. So obviously, I don't really follow them like that.
Maybe Ajax are using that kind of like friendly card to just get them opened up. Do you know what I mean?
But do you know what? What did you see the Liverpool? Obviously, we've got Marcel in the chat as well. Liverpool fan, yeah. Obviously, hopefully you've recovered from your defeat as well, because obviously...
Jump in, Marcel. Tell us what you think.
It's a madness.
For you to join the stream one day.
But what I wanted to ask you, Ibish, I wanted to ask you now, do you reckon that with Manchester United now recruiting players so late in the window, do you think that it's going to be benefiting them, or do you reckon it's just all a rush, all disorganized, no planning, and as the season goes on, it's all just going to go in disarray again? Because
I think it depends on who they buy. I think buying wingers and stuff like that feels to me like rushed. I think that if things start getting bad again, or if you get caught in a rough patch, or if they start to find that they're having more problems defensively, having a good winger isn't going to do anything. I think if they go out and spend a load of money in the last week and bring in a centre mid or a right back or a left back or a goalkeeper, or positions where it's like, right, that's a player that can like if you get a really good goalkeeper in and get a fresh start and get rid of De Gea, and you've got someone in the sticks now that's performing brilliantly week in, week out and stopping things that De Gea wasn't, and bringing like some security and some stability to the back four, that can have a massive change on your whole season, the whole feeling around the club, the feeling with the fans, the feeling of defenders. That's a position where you can have a massive impact. A defensive midfielder, if they brought in a really top-class defensive midfielder, that can have echoes throughout the whole squad. Your spine can do that. I don't know if a winger can do that for you. So then it just feels like, yeah, great, but you bought a really good winger. But if I take a £90 million winger right now and put them in Aston Villa's squad, it's not going to do much to where they end up in the season, because he's just going to end up isolated on the wing. He's gonna they're just gonna double team him half the time, or the other team's just gonna overrun you in the middle, and you're not gonna get the ball enough to get it out to him anyway. Yeah. So to me, it seems rash. It seems like more of the same, like letting managers buy players over there. And I think that the only thing that I like about United spending all of this money every season is that they've taken away their own card on City. Like United fans love to use that one about City, they're buying the league, they're spending the league. And unfortunately now they've fucked themselves, because in the last 10 years they've spent more than we have, and they're continuing to spend. Not only in a reckless way, but in a they're not.
Whilst we're on this, obviously I don't know if you've heard or not, but they've been linked to Kevin Trapp, second choice goalkeeper they want in, on Baz back up to De Gea after losing Henderson. 21 mil 32-year-old
For a second choice
goalkeeper
goalkeeper. What are you on?
from Frankfurt, 21 mil, bro. Go and get Ben Foster for free, I'm telling you.
And get some social media presence. Real talk. Real talk. That's what they should do. They should go get Ben Foster. They should have him as some flipping social media advocate for the club, doing flipping YouTube videos and that, and then get a young goalkeeper in there. Or go and buy someone that's going to be your number one goalkeeper. How are you spending £21 million on a backup goalkeeper when your first choice goalkeeper's shit? Bro, it's crazy.
21 mil on a backup.
What if it's just all bungs, bro?
But
what if it's all bungs? What if they're getting money back under the table? Because none of these deals make sense to me unless somebody that's going out and making them is getting a little 2 mil back under the table every time. Or there's a City fan there that's undercover. Because if I was at United, do
you know what it is?
We need to spend 70 million on Kevin Olin. Getting back.
Do you know what it is, Bish? You know what it is? Yeah, putting all our hate aside for United, yeah, being Arsenal and City fans. Now, I think what it is, I just don't think they've got footballing men running their club. You know what I mean? And I feel like until they can change the structure of who's above, and maybe that might not be just the owner, because the owner has to go regardless. He's a shit owner, clearly. But whether he's going to sell or not, that's another question. Like I'm hearing they're putting 6-7 fucking billion pound price tags on United. It's a mad thing. You get me, bro? They've not won the Premier League in years. I don't know how they're rating them that highly. But I think they're actually worth about 3-4 in it. But whether they're going to sell them or not, that's another question. But if you take out everybody from the top, Richard, put in the proper people in it, you get me? Yeah. Footballing people with footballing knowledge, and then you'll start seeing an improvement in United. It's inevitable because this is a team that spends money. This is a team that invests. This is a team that can attract the best players, a team that can attract the best managers. So I think it's all just going wrong from up top in United. Mismanagement, man. They're spending fucking stupid amounts of money, making loads of mistakes. But every team does make mistakes as well. It's not fair just to say to United they make mistakes, because
no, but they make the most, and they spend and they make the most expensive ones.
We had Pepe, man. That's one expensive mistake, fam.
That's one. They have about 5 every season. Just while we're on the topic, I seen that Marcel said that Trapp's staying at Frankfurt for Champions League football. Do you want to just quickly run through the Champions League groups while we're here?
Yeah, just before we do move on, there's one player I just want to touch on, Dele Alli. Dele Alli, I don't know what's gone on with Dele Alli, but he's turned from hero to zero real quick. You know what I mean? Man. Because this guy's moved to Besiktas now, Turkish league, dead league. Only came to Everton, I think it was in January or something mad like that, or even the start of last summer.
Sad, man.
God, it's not sad for me. I think it's
not for you because he's an ex-Spurs player, but I think it's sad because he was a really good player at one point, and I actually was like, when he first came to Everton, that was a stinker of a flipping. That was one of my stinkers last season. But I said he was going to come to Everton and go crazy and be the best player in the bottom half of the table, and he didn't do shit, and he just let me down, man. It looks like he's spending too much time piping Pep's daughter and not enough time flipping training and getting better. Do you know what I mean? God, I hope Pep never sees that. Imagine that would be my one chance to be friends with Pep is ruined.
But you know what though, as well, I think with him, I thought if he was gonna get the best out of his position, it would have potentially been under Frank Lampard, because Frank Lampard, he might not be the greatest manager yet or at all even, but he was a great midfielder. You know what I mean? And you got to give him his dues for that. Now, with obviously Dele Alli working under him, I thought he might get the best out of him, and we might start seeing a little bit of a different Dele Alli than what was at Tottenham. But clearly, it looks like his race is running the Premier League. I don't think he's got the legs for it anymore, or the will or determination. I can't see him coming back and having a career at top Everton at all. So Dele Alli, it's a mad thing, bro. But I just can't get over it, bro. He's gone to Besiktas after like 6 months. That's a madness, bro. That just shows you your shit.
Maybe he's going out there to get some dental work done or something.
It's a madness. But let's move on to the Champions League draw results, people. Obviously, we know it's Premier League Unpacked, but it got dropped today, the Champions League group stage results and stuff like that. So we're going to hit it with you. Go on, Tom. Give it us.
So we've got Liverpool's group is Ajax, Liverpool, Napoli and Rangers. I think Liverpool should come out of that group pretty cleanly. You expect Liverpool to come out of top of probably pretty much any group that they come in, but I don't think that any of those teams will give them too much trouble. Don't get me wrong, City have been tied up with Napoli a few seasons. You know, it seems like sometimes, doesn't it, that you keep facing a certain team over and over again in the Champions League, and Napoli was one of them for us, and they have given us some problems, but I think Rangers.
They've lost Koulibaly as well. It's the best centre back.
They've lost Koulibaly. I think Dybala might be on the way out. Not Dybala. I'm having a mental blank on who the other player was that's just left. But yeah, they've lost a few players this season, and I think that they're in a rebuild. I think Ajax are in a selling stage, and they've just lost a manager, and Rangers are just going to stink that group out anyway. So Liverpool will ride clean through that. Porto, Atletico Madrid, Leverkusen, and Club Brugge. That's probably one of the weakest groups all around, I'd say. You expect Atletico to get out of there.
Yeah, 100%.
Then the group of death this year is Bayern, Barca, Inter, and Victoria Pilsen.
Victoria Pilsen.
I don't know who they are, but the other three look solid.
I thought was not Slavia Prague in one of their groups, or did that get changed or something? I seen something on Instagram where Slavia Prague guy was sitting down at the draw looking like he's just shit his pants, seeing what group he's fell into. Are they even in there or what? Or was that last season?
They're not in there. Maybe that was last season, or maybe that was Victoria Pilsen.
Maybe it might have been them.
But oftentimes them little clubs, they actually want to be in the group of death because it's bigger money. You know, being in the big
more
game.
traction, ain't it?
Exactly. They're not expecting to go and win it anyway. Do you know what I mean? Then Tottenham. Oh man, it must hurt for you because this is the group you would have been in, and Arsenal would have made it out of this group. Eintracht.
I don't kick a mama with that, fam.
Eintracht Frankfurt, Tottenham, Sporting Lisbon, and Marseille.
I just hope to God that all three of them teams come ahead.
You know what? The funny thing about that group is there's no superpowers in that group, but they're also there's no
decent teams.
There's no gimmies in that group. Like Frankfurt are decent, Sporting are good, Marseille are good. So you're gonna have a hard game every week. Group A is AC Milan, Chelsea, Red Bull Salzburg, and Dynamo Zagreb. Then Real Madrid, RB Leipzig, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Celtic.
Yeah.
And then City's group is a pretty tough one. City, Sevilla, Dortmund, and Copenhagen. And then the final group is PSG, Juventus, Benfica, and Maccabi Haifa.
So the toughest group is the Barcelona group then, I would say, innit?
I think so. It looks like it is. I mean, it is. I think we should just say while we're on it that Maccabi Haifa, Israeli football team, what the hell are they doing in the Champions League?
Don't kill me off, Marcel. You allow it with the Europa League comments right about now.
Maccabi Haifa can fuck off as well. But other than that, I mean, that was an interesting draw. I think they also gave out the UEFA kind of awards of the year. So UEFA Men's Player of the Year, any guesses? It's the obvious one. If you think Champions League.
Got Benzema.
Yeah. Benzema won for the men. I mean, for the player, and Ancelotti won for the coach.
Benzema deserved it though, bro. He actually deserved it because he
probably deserved it.
Single-handedly saved Real Madrid in more or less all of the games that they needed to,
and
to win in.
Ancelotti won Champions League for the whatever time and became the first manager to win the league in every top country in Europe.
Like three different clubs, three different leagues or something like that. But you know what, though? You got to give credit to Ancelotti. He was a manager that I wanted when we was going to get Arteta, and it was between Ancelotti and Arteta, and Ancelotti went to Everton. I was thinking, how we let Wenger go? And I mean, Emery go and not bringing in Ancelotti, somebody of some serious cloth, but it is what it is.
I think in hindsight, I know we joke a lot about the whatever they call it. What did they call it at Arsenal? The plan or the project or the process or something. You know, we joke about that, but there is we are seeing that there is some truth in that. There's a difference between the teams that have built with one manager for 5, 6, 7 years and the teams that are just hopscotching from managers trying to get a trophy. And I think, especially at the time that Ancelotti would have come in, Ancelotti is a good manager to come in if you've got a club that's already got the pieces and you just need someone to come in and win trophies. But if you send him to a club that needs to be built up like Everton or something, historically, I don't think it works. And at the time for Arsenal, you could have seen him come into Arsenal and it being a dud, to be honest with you. At least Arteta, you knew you had.
I just feel like his experience is something that we need, and I think sometimes in football as well, these level of managers with top experience, like Klopp, Ancelotti, Conte, do you know what I mean? Pep, all of these guys, regardless of, even if you was to put them in, say, a dead team with no money or whatnot, there's something about their managers to get something out of these players. You know what I mean? So with Arsenal, the way
True.
we were developing at that time, there was pumping some money into the club. You know what I mean? It's not like they weren't pumping money in. Now, if they would have given Ancelotti a certain amount of money, what could he have done? You know what I mean, bro? Like maybe he could have took us to that level quicker. Maybe we could have been in Champions League, but that's all if buts and maybe. Anyway, I like Ancelotti. I think he deserves a lot of praise. Top manager. And you know what? Benzema as well, man. Big up to Benzema because he's at his age, putting it absolutely to bed, putting man to bed in the Champions League. Bro, look at yous as well, man. City were hot favourites to win that. Top form, good form. But it just shows you mentality, quality of certain players can possess one.
Before we go, can I get your predictions for this week's Premier League games? I didn't manage to get our results up from last week, but you beat me in the end. You got 5 of the predictions right, I think, and I got 3 or 4. I think it was 3. You got 2 more than me anyway.
Should have put a bet on fucking hell, man.
This week, we're doing a wager this week. I was too busy checking out my fantasy league team.
Oh, don't even tell me about that, yo. I absolutely fucked it, yeah. I haven't played fantasy football in time, yeah. I haven't played fantasy football in time, yeah. And what's happened is I used my wild card thinking it's... No, what was it? Is it the wild card? Nah, free hit. I used my free hit thinking it's the wild card, yeah. Thinking, yeah, sweet. Got good players in here now. On the phone to Kish, she said, nah. Your team's going to go back to that shit team. I said, what? I'm going to have to use my wild card now. It's a madness, bro. It's all about... Did you use your wild card? No, I'm going to use it, though, because I've got a shit squad, bro. I've got a real shit squad. And what I'm thinking about doing is using it early. So then I'm not missing out on them extra points that I think I could be getting. You know what I'm saying?
If you buy a load of new players and then they're all shit?
Oh, bro, then I've absolutely fucked it, haven't I? You know what I mean?
So, a quick result rundown. You know what, as well, I should be... if I had a pen, I would make a note, so I don't have to go back to the video, but I'll just go back to the video. Southampton versus Man United at St Andrews, is it there? No,
you're getting my me thingy.
Anyway, Southampton versus Man United at their ground.
That's going to really piss me off now.
St Mary's.
St Mary's. I swear to God, stuff like that gets to me, bro. I think Southampton will win 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a draw in that game. I think United will get like a last-minute equaliser or something.
I think Ward-Prowse, 2 free kicks.
I'd like that. Chelsea versus Leicester. Chelsea at home.
I think that'll be a draw, that game.
Leicester needs something out of that, man. I want to say a draw, but I actually think that Chelsea will win. And I think that Chelsea will win and Brendan Rodgers will be on the chopping block if they do.
Yeah. I think it'd be a 1-1. I think Leicester have to get something, man. They have to, man. They have to get something. I don't know if they've
got it in them. I thought that about that last game and they got walked over, so...
It's going to be interesting to see if Fofana is going to be playing or not.
Yeah, I hope he plays. I hope he plays and plays well. But Leicester at the moment, I mean, they're 3 games in. They've got 1 point. And they've flipping conceded more goals than they've scored. Brighton versus Leeds. This is another game from two clubs that have started this season better than we probably expected.
I think Brighton will win. I think Brighton will win that game. Good team, Brighton.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Brighton as well. Man City at home versus Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace are giving people problems this year, man. And they gave us problems last year.
City at home, though.
Yeah.
What, they drew with Jews at home last season? I think they might have. I'm not sure, but I think they might have got a draw.
If you keep thinking, I'll have a quick check. I've got it somewhere on my phone.
I think City will have this in the bag. To be honest with you, I don't think at your stadium it's going to be too much of a tougher test than what it would be at Selhurst Park. I think if Arsenal manage to dig out a result at Selhurst Park against Palace on the opening day, I can see City getting a victory as well. Play both similar style of football at the moment. And I think it's just be too much for him. Or maybe that friendly that you just played against Barcelona might have some impact, eh?
Yeah, I'm going to go with City to win just because I like to root for my team. But
Palace won at the Etihad, they did, I think.
Yeah,
Marcel's telling us.
I got a bit of a funky feeling about that game. But I'm going to go with City to win. Liverpool at home against Bournemouth. I think Liverpool are going to bounce back. I think someone's been waiting to catch a back on from Liverpool. I think that's going to be a demolition. I think
Yeah,
that might
I
be on my
agree.
thing. 7-0.
I agree. I don't think 7-0, but I think it's good. I think they're gonna get packed in. Yeah, definitely.
If Liverpool drop points in that game, I'm ready to come in here and start giving it in. UEFA Cup pending for Liverpool. They need a performance in that game. You can't get beat by Scotty Parker and them.
Scotty Parker and them man
Mate,
there.
no way. It can't happen. You can't allow it to happen. You going Liverpool as well, yeah?
Yeah, Liverpool.
Brentford at home versus Everton.
Oh, I'm going Brentford.
Oh, it pains me to say it, but I'm going Brentford. I'm really waiting and hoping for Everton to get going. I'm going to go with a draw. I'm going to say that Everton might manage to scrape another draw. Go on. Arsenal at home versus Fulham.
I think we'll win.
Derby.
I'm going to go 3-0 again.
I'm going to go Arsenal win, but I think this one's going to be a bit less convincing than the last few. I think this time you might have to get a goal in the last 10 minutes to win it. But I think you will. I think you'll win it, and you'll win it in a way where it's like we get to see another side of this Arsenal side. Like, what do they do when they're chasing a game, or what do they do when they need to get a goal?
Oh, I'm just hoping we absolutely wrap him over, bro. Like, literally, because this is it now. We got to keep this momentum going. I'm telling you now. Smacking up man like this. But Mitrovic's going to be a test. It's going to be a test.
Yeah. So we're both going Arsenal there. Wolves versus Newcastle. At home to Wolves. Damn man there.
I think Newcastle. Is it Wolves at home or Newcastle?
Wolves at home.
Oh, Wolves at home. I'll go for a draw. Newcastle away, bro, is mental, fam. It's mental.
I think there's got to be a bit of a drop off after that City game. I think Wolves might actually win. I think sometimes when you're on the come up like Newcastle and you have a big performance like that, oftentimes there's a bit of a drop the next game and they can't quite get themselves up to the same level. So I'm going to say Wolves. Aston Villa versus West Ham.
West Ham have to win this game, you know.
Yeah. Well, West Ham Villa do as well.
I know,
Gerrard's going to be on the chop.
But what I mean is like the fall from West Ham from last season and the performances compared to what it is this season, it's pretty mad, to be fair. But Gerrard as well, I can see that being a draw as well. I think we might have a few draws this weekend.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with West Ham to win that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with West Ham to win it. And then we got Nottingham Forest versus Tottenham.
Fucking hell, man! I just so badly want Forest to win, but can't see it happening. I think Spurs will sneak it over the line. Oh, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna say draw. I'm gonna say draw.
I was gonna say draw as well. Shall I say draw or shall I just be different to be contrary? I'll say Tottenham then, but I was gonna say draw originally. But
this is what I'm saying with the fantasy football. Your people in the chat, if you're watching, make sure you smash a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, comment as well, and we'll try to reply to every comment as well. But this is what I'm telling you about fantasy football, people. Yeah, absolutely to a different level, bro. Really badly, you know, because the thing is now I'm looking at I had Kane in my team, I had Kulizeski, I had a few other players, but then I'm looking at it thinking, do I want these guys? Do you remember like we were speaking off air?
Yeah,
do I want these guys to do well? And actually having that conversation with you is what made me think that. I was on the phone to Kish and saying to him, you know what, I took their players out of my team because of this, and this. And he was like, you know what, you just can't do that. You just got to just put them in there, leave it. And it is what it is, isn't it? But I think that's where my mistake is. But the Tottenham, hopefully they get packed in, really. Is that it? Is there no Monday night kickoff or anything like that?
I think that the Forest one was the actual. This is
Monday
your team,
night.
yeah. Here's your team.
Get me. This is my team. Is this the one that's with the This is the free hit team that I put in.
Right. So let's see if we can see. How do we see your current team? So what? That's definitely not your current team for this.
No, that's not my current team. Is that. What? Let me see. Scroll down a little bit. I can't even see too tough because you're going on.
Let me try to zoom out a little bit. See if we can see the whole team. So we've got Mendy.
Yeah, that was the free hit that I used.
So it was the team from the week before that you've gone back to.
Yeah, the team from before that, the week before that, dead team.
Oh.
Dead team. Can you see it?
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? Causing issues. And you know what? At the start, I'm thinking that's looking all right still.
That was looking tasty before week 1, but now that's looking like a stinker.
Looking like a myth, innit?
It's Darwin, innit? It's Darwin's red card as well.
And Grealish as well.
Because you'd have to switch Darwin out for Bueno or Murphy. And then you've got to switch Grealish out for someone as well. Yeah, it's a lot to deal with, man.
Sure, bro. Trust me, wildcard's getting used tonight for about 5
it.
hours and that, deciding to put in my team, bro. It's all a madness.
Do it. And try look at this week. Try not to look at last week. That's one thing I've learned. Try not to look at the last week's games to pick. Try look at this week's games coming up and really just think about how you think people are going to do. Because every time when I've got slapped up this season so far, it's where I've thought, oh, let me put my man as captain because of what he done last week, and then next week it's the guy you had captain last week that scores a hat trick. So you just got.
I think you got to look at the opposition that they're playing as well, innit, and make calculated decisions, I suppose. Yeah. But people, we've come to the end of the show now. It's been an hour and 15 minutes, a little bit over. But when you're having fun, I suppose it just keeps flowing, innit. So, but Bish, appreciate the time.
Always, bro.
And the work, fam, and the effort you're putting in is episode 20, you know, people. So it's still early. But we're getting there slowly. But next thing you know, it'll be episode 100, and then we'll do a bit of a mad one for that.
Midweek games next week. I'm coming up for the City Forest game, so maybe I'll try and get some behind-the-scenes footage or some match day footage from that to share with you guys. But yeah, we've got midweek games next week, and I'll be up in Manchester for that game and to link up with Premsy. So we'll probably be doing the live stream in person next week. And you know, we're gonna try and get some other content recorded while we're up there for you guys, some special bonus content from Premier League Unpacked. But 20 episodes in, man, let's keep running.
Make sure you're smashing a like on this video, people, because it helps push it out. You get me? And we need it to get pushed out.
Send it on WhatsApp to your brethrens.
Get me? Help the brothers out. But peace and love, people, and we'll see you next week.
Blessings.